Good evening, everybody. I just want to say I'm no plans for this evening whatsoever. So as always, if you can just quickly let me know if you can hear this, you can see this, and all those kinds of normal things are all looking and sounding okay for everybody. If you could, that would be absolutely awesome. In the meantime, I'm going to have a little bit of a hazy little thing tonight to start off with, although there's not much of it left. So this is tonight's first beer of choice. And like I say, if you could just let me know in the description, in the comments, the chat thing, if you can see this and hear this all okay. So, who do we have in tonight? We have some of the usual culprits. I can see Steve's in, Michael. I'm so glad that Michael could actually make it long enough to stay sober enough to be able to type a sentence in, so that's good. Thank you very much, Ted. You're an absolute star for letting me know. Thank you very much. So, good evening, Ted. Good evening, Steve. Good evening, Lillian. Good to see you as always. Michael, good to see you in as well. Like I say, glad to see that you could survive long enough on the old wobble juice to be able to join in. Seeing as it was you that actually suggested we do another live stream tonight, so it's all your fault. That's what I'm saying. Ripal, Happy New Year from Australia. Happy New Year, Australia. Hello from Sweden. Good evening, Chris. I hope you're doing well. So what we're going to do is, as always, wherever you are in the world, let me know, and let me know what time it is where you are. So I've got some idea how close to New Year's Eve, or, you know, the 12 o'clock kind of thing, and, you know, gives me an idea. So, Volker, great to see you in tonight. Great to see you can get catch up with us. Good to see you. No reaction, bonsoir, good evening. Good evening to you as well. Pacific Wings, good to see you as well. In the States, 12 p.m. Oh, you got a fair old way to 12 p.m. Oh, so we're pretty much, dinner time. Okay, so that's the first one down. Let's get the second one in. Okay, so we're going to try Jamestown now, which, if I can put that in front of my face, no idea. Don't think I've ever tried it before. So we're going to give that one a try now. Okay, Carl from Michigan, 1 p.m. Lockdown Greece. Yanis, I feel your pain. Lockdown here as well. So it's been a bit of a strange Christmas and holiday for sure. Charlie, I know you're in Devon. I know it's 6:01, but it's still time to get a beer in. That's the most important thing. Halama from Mexico, good evening. And Gloucester, beer o'clock. Exactly. I'm glad you got that one bang on there, Steve. Ooh, wow. That's a bit of a strange one. Okay, so you're going to have to excuse the possible bangs and pops that you may hear, depending if my mic will pick it up from the direction. As you can imagine, there are fireworks going off and everybody's celebrating what has been a absolutely shitty year, to be honest. Pardon the French. So whatever you're kind of doing, whatever you're celebrating, let's hope the 2021 at least brings some positivity with it. We all need a little bit of that. Anyway, that's all we're going to say about that kind of thing. Egypt, 8 p.m, so you've still got a couple of hours of drinking time to go before you have to start wrapping your arms around each other and celebrating the new year. Okay, so this is going to be a fairly quiet one, a totally unplanned one, so I've got nothing too specific I want to talk about, a couple of topics that we'll have a little chat about, but as always, it's about us having a couple of beers, having a chat, talking about different things. I'll give you some opinions, you give me your opinions, and we just have a chilled evening before we all go off and celebrate the new year. Okay, Michael, sounds like a war zone here, I can imagine. Yeah, fireworks, Steve, as well. Good evening, Carl. Glad to see you could make it, young man. Great to see you here, as always. Okay, so now we've got a few peeps in. Greetings from Germany. Good evening, Manuel. Hope you're doing well. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things that I just really want to have a little chat about tonight. And like I say, most of this is going to be an open floor for everybody to check out their ideas, check out whatever it is that you want to talk about tonight, within reason. I know how sort of strange some people can be. Anyone injected yet? No. So like I said, a couple of things I want to just talk about, but the other thing I do want to sort of say is, in the description of this live stream, there are some very special offers that are either exclusive to WPTuts or they're things that are running out quite soon. So if you want to grab any of those, have a look at those. Like I say, they are, I think there's like WP Vivid Backup Pro with 30% off. There's Bloxy, I think that runs out tonight with 30% off. Crocoblock, there's an exclusive 15% off everything except for the lifetime deals, and they are exclusive to WPTuts, so there's exclusive codes for those in there. So if anybody wants to grab a last minute deal and you want to grab any of those things with exclusive discounts, check them out. Like I say, they'll be there for the rest of the evening. See, Carl's on the ball already. Carl, you are an absolute rock star. So there we go. Like I say, there's links there, there's everything else that goes with it, and like I say, some of these are exclusives. Anyway, that's that side of things out the way. First thing I do want to talk about is Bloxy. Now, if anybody doesn't know what Bloxy is, good evening, Pez. Good to see you here. Let me just quickly hop over, change screens over a second so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so Bloxy is basically a theme. And I'm not one for jumping on the bandwagon with themes. You know that I don't really use themes that often. But I've been speaking to Sergio, one of the developers of this, probably several months now. And he's been asking me to check it out. And I took a look at it ages ago, did a video on this probably about a year ago before the pro version came out. And used that as a sort of, I think it was a blog tutorial that I did. And used that as the theme because it was quite a cool theme at the time. Well, I've been using this now for the last probably 2 days, testing things out to run alongside some tutorials. The one that I released earlier on today to do with Gutenberg. And that's kind of why I've used a theme at the moment. Because obviously with Gutenberg, you need a theme. But I must be honest, this is very reminiscent of how I found Ocean WP back when, probably several years ago now, where I thought Ocean WP was probably one of the better themes out there because it had so many options, such a well-structured customizer that you could do so many things with. And Bloxy I found is exactly the same, so much so that I'm actually I'm contemplating moving over WPTuts site over to Bloxy, just because it is really, really easy to work with, fast. I tested it out, tested one of their predefined layouts with quite a lot of graphics and different bits and pieces on it, and I was getting like about a 1.3 second load time and something like about 96 and 100 on GT metrics using their new Lightspeed sort of options, the Lightspeed results kind of thing. So that's pretty good starting point. And playing about with it and seeing how it all works, I'm really quite impressed with Bloxy. I'm not one for jumping on this sort of bandwagon with Cadence where everybody's bending over backwards to say Cadence is the best thing since sliced bread. For me, I kind of like Bloxy. So I promised Sergio that I would actually mention this tonight to do with the 30% discount thing because it's the last day for that for him. That runs out in about 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours I think it is. But for me, Bloxy is the theme to keep an eye on, I think, in 2021. And like I say, I'm definitely going to be taking a look at using this myself for at least one project and maybe more than that. So just keep an eye on that because there'll probably be some tutorials coming out on it as well. So that's what I wanted to sort of just talk about there when it comes to the Bloxy theme. I'm really quite liking it. So if you've never tried it, if you've got the opportunity to have a development environment, whether that's using something like, an offline kind of setup, or you have some sort of free space that you can use like a SiteGround domain and you want to sort of set up a subdomain, like it's what I kind of tend to do when I'm testing sites out, doing tutorials and that kind of thing, check it out because I think you might be pleasantly surprised how cool it is. Built-in header and footer builder in the free version. So pair that up with some of the tools that I'm showing to do with Gutenberg at the moment, and you could very easily create pretty powerful, pretty comprehensive, good-looking, fast-loading websites with minimal development time and minimal effort. Check it out. Anyway, so let's have a little look what you lovely peeps are saying tonight. Okay, Charlie Bird, I got all caught up in the hype with Cadence, gone back to hello. I can't sort of diss Cadence because I've only ever used the free version of it. I haven't tried the pro version of it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the theme. It just seems to be there's a little bit of a bandwagon and lots of people are jumping on that bandwagon with regards to Cadence. And like I say, I can't say it's a bad theme. I don't know it well enough to give you a honest opinion on it. But Bloxy, where I've been testing that the last day or two, I'm really finding it super easy to work with. And like I say, it's very reminiscent of how I used to work and set things up using Ocean WP when I used to use Ocean WP for a lot of different projects before it moved over to the freemius model, which I'm not a fan of, as many of you probably already know. But like I say, if you've got the opportunity to test it out because it is pretty cool. Does it have templates? yes, it does have some templates, some very cool templates, some nice layouts. Again, just test it out. Take it for a test drive. The free version has an absolute boatload of options, and for a lot of people will probably be more than enough to get more than a basic site up and running. You should be able to get quite a decent site set up using some free sort of Gutenberg blocks, of which there are quite a few really good ones out there. And you've got a good starting point. You've got a pretty solid basis for creating a site. And like I say, my testing, it's actually really quite quick. Like I say, just over 1 second load time. The only thing that came up as a bit of a negative was the time to first byte, but that's because I had no CDN installed on there, no optimization, anything like that installed. This was literally just Bloxy with a template file loaded in with a ton of images, and it was getting that kind of result. So for me, that's a pretty good starting point. So that's what I would say. Take it for a test drive. Good evening, Richard. Good to see you here. Good evening, Athena. I hope you're all doing well. Jamie, great to see you here as well. And I'm going to say Blagoji UK. I hope that's the right way of saying it. So anyway, I hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic tonight. Where's the WPTuts shirt today, bro? Better half put in the wash. Sacrilegious naughty boy. I did actually get told before I came on saying, you wore this t-shirt on a video that I released today. You can't wear it again. I thought, it's New Year. No one will notice. Trust Carl to notice it. I have a beer now. So, okay. So a couple of things I want to say, and I'm going to jump back and take a look at these comments as well. First of all, I'm really, really pleased the fact that the Facebook group, if you haven't subscribed or joined up to it, there's the link in the corner right now. So go and hop over and then become part of the WP crew, totally free. We've just broken the 3,000 member barrier, which is absolutely insane because I literally set that up just for a bit of fun to hopefully get maybe, I don't know, 100, 200 people involved and we could have a chat. So if you're not part of the WP crew Facebook group, like I say, link is there right now. Go and join up to that because it is a really, really nice place to be involved in. Hopefully moving into 2021, that will get even better. We've got some amazing people. I don't know if Els is in tonight. She said she's going to come in, so hopefully Els will be in at some point. If her Dashans will actually let her get away from them for 5 minutes, and anything like mine, he likes his attention. But anyway, it's an amazing group full of fantastic people. There's a really nice vibe in there, which for me is the most important thing. And a big part of that is anybody that spams, there's a rule in there. You spam, you are out straight away. There's no contacting them saying, naughty person, you shouldn't be doing this. It's a case of you spam, you're out. So very much on the ball with keeping that side of things out of this group. And a lot of people that are a part of the group are in the live stream tonight and are regulars in the live stream. So you'll find that when you get to know people inside the live stream, you're going to see a lot of those same names and faces over in the WP Crew Facebook group. And like I say, it's a really nice place to be. So thank you very much to everybody for making that such a fantastic place. And let's hope 2021 makes it even bigger and better. Now more on 2021 a little later because I've got some things I want to talk about. But we'll leave that for a little later. Okay, so what do we have in the chat? What are you lovely peeps saying? Michael, yes, Bloxy looks good, but stop mentioning the swear word Gutenberg. I'm sorry, I know, I can't. I've kind of, how can I say? I've kind of become a little disillusioned with doing a lot of things with tools like Elementor. Not specifically Elementor, but that's the one that I primarily use. And one of the biggest things with that, as we all know, is speed. And if you don't need a site that has lots and lots of customization, and all those kinds of things, you can do a lot with, I'm sorry to say, the G word and a theme like Gutenberg Cadence. I mean, again, is another good one. Page Builder Framework, again, another good option. Astra, all those sort of key themes that are out there. You can get by doing a lot of what you would generally tend to do in a site that doesn't necessarily require custom, well, not so much custom post types, but, advanced custom fields, custom templates, and those kinds of things. So I would say don't rule these kinds of things. Gutenberg itself is still a little bit crappy. It has to be said. It isn't the best thing at all. But I think the ecosystem that's starting to surround it, and because so many companies have realized this isn't going anywhere anytime soon, they either embrace it or they risk missing out on opportunities. I think a lot of names that we know have embraced Gutenberg, and therefore it is getting a much better ecosystem. So all those holes that are missing, in much the same way as, you know, Elementor has a lot of third-party plugins to fill in the gaps that Elementor doesn't have, Gutenberg is kind of getting that type of ecosystem around it. Would it be my choice to build sites using a tool like Gutenberg? No, not at all. But in much the same way as I've said before, you know, WordPress isn't always the right tool to do a job. You know, sometimes you've got to look beyond what you're comfortable with and look at some of the things that's going to be a better solution to the job at hand. And for me, with regards to WPTuts, for example, I am kind of leaning towards the using a theme like Bloxy alongside some block pack add-ons to give me close to what I would get with Elementor for layout side of things. And I think that's going to do the job nicely. It's going to give me a much faster site. I don't have to worry about, you know, everything falling apart and breaking as much as you do when you have tools like Elementor and some of the other third-party add-ons you have with that. You know yourselves that when it comes to updating, especially when you've got something like, you know, Elementor 3.0 and WordPress 5.5 at the time, it was not a good time to be working in WordPress. So if I can have things that will mitigate a lot of those stressful, those stress points, should we say, then I'm going to have to look at embracing these things. And I just want to see if I can actually take, the whole point of what I'm doing with this series of videos is, if I can take Gutenberg, as much as I dislike it, and I can make it something that is more usable, if I can tap into then using things like advanced custom fields and custom post types and whatever other tools are out there, and maybe code in some things to make it a more usable platform so we can all benefit from that, then that's the whole point of what this sort of ongoing Gutenberg series is all about. So I'm sorry, I do have to say the G word every now and again, Michael. I do apologize, but we will all benefit from it. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, what else do we have? Ted, you've got to find the time, my young man. At that point when I don't have time for learning new stuff, since I have so many purchase plugins I haven't gotten to, I'm exactly the same as you. I mean, I get people, you know, like I've said before, I'm in an enviable position where I get companies will send me software and they'll say, you know, would you create some content on this? And as you know, not review content. But the first thing I'll do is I'll try to look into it and then see if it's something that I would think would bring value to the channel, which isn't always the case. But I just don't have the time to spend doing that as much as I'd like to. I am getting much closer to becoming a full-time YouTuber, whatever that means. But again, it's still one of those things that when you're working on creating content on a daily basis, you just don't have a huge amount of time to be able to invest in learning all of these new tools. So I'm absolutely with you on this, Ted. It is one of those things that we should make time to learn new things, because there could be things out there that streamline and speed up what we're trying to achieve. But if you don't have time to do it, it's kind of like the chicken and egg situation. So I feel your pain on that one. Okay, what do we have? Jamie built a custom site for a client. They loved it, but then a week later came back and wanted me to use various plugins to do all the same stuff, none of which were updated in the last 5 years. Yeah, we all know the client knows best when the client doesn't always know anything. So, what can I say? We're all living that dream. Richard, you won't be able to stick around for the entire thing, but I want to wish myself and the crew a Happy New Year. So Richard, if you do have to duck out early, Happy New Year to you, and I hope 2021 brings a lot more positivity than 2020 has for everybody. So fingers crossed. But like I say, if you have to dip out, Happy New Year, and I'm sure everybody else in here will wish you a Happy New Year as well. Okay. What else do we have? Just bear with me. Ooh. Bloxy, $34 for one site license at the mo. Good deal. Like I say, try the free version. You know, if you think that your pro version has things that you want, grab yourself a license, at least one license or whatever kind of suits your needs, while they've got that deal going on. Like I say, it does run out, I'm assuming, at probably midnight in wherever they are tonight, because when I spoke to Sergio earlier on, it was 8 hours. That was a couple of hours ago. So probably about 6 hours GMT time, around about that kind of thing. But even the free version, and again, this is part of why it reminds me very much of Ocean WP, even the free version has an absolute boatload of really useful things inside there, which means that at least you're not having a theme that you look at and think, oh, this is quite cool, and then you find that pretty much everything you want to do requires you to upgrade to the pro version. Free version has tons and tons of options inside there. Like I say, including the header and footer builder, which is one of those things that is definitely the thing of 2020 and probably 2021 with themes. But it's all built in there, all part of the free option, and the layout options are really nice. There's a ton of really nice things in there. I don't want to sort of come across like I'm selling you on this, because at the end of the day, I would say just try the free version, and if you want to upgrade. But the free version just gives you tons and tons of options. More than enough, like I say, to do a lot of what you would probably ever want to do with a theme. So, like I say, bear with the channel, because I will be releasing some content using it. I can't say a dedicated video on it, but it will be used in conjunction with some other things that I want to do, especially around the sort of the Gutenberg side of things. So that will probably be the backbone theme that will be used in several of those tutorials. So keep an eye on that. Okay, let's have a look. Cheers for 2021, Pez. Absolutely. Stratos tutorials, good evening, and I hope you're well. Carl, the Facebook group is doing very, very well, and I think we're all happy about that. There's some really nice comments on there saying, just along the lines that people like the vibe that's in the group, that it's full of very nice people, and that's a difficult thing to find. I mean, we all know that Facebook can become a very toxic place very quickly, so it's really cool to see that there are so many awesome people in there, so willing to help. And like I say, Els has been an absolute amazing part of the Facebook group, and she was in there from pretty much the get-go. But how the heck she has the time to know all the things that she does, because she's always answering so many different questions with links and answers and stuff, just blows my mind. I wish I could find the time to be able to know all the things and all the different products and services and sites and all those kinds of things. So she's an absolute star, and probably one of the best things about the Facebook group. So love Els for all the things she does. Okay, what else do we have? Stratos tutorials, good to see you. We love Els to the group is amazing. See, exactly, that's my whole point. Michael says everything that we all need to say. Ban hammer for the spammer. I like that one. That's a good one. I like that, Carl. That's really cool. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about for 2021, before we take a little look back at what 2020 has actually brought with it from a positive point of view, I'm going to be doing a free webinar that is about how you can set yourself up to do ongoing maintenance plans. So like what we've talked about over the last couple of live streams, we've talked about like the website owner's manual, things like that that Carl Van Dusen has created, and the whole point behind supplying and creating, ongoing care plans, maintenance plans, those kinds of things. One of the things we talked about in the last live stream was that I wasn't really overawed by the whole sort of maintenance plan side of things with regards to WordPress, because when you create a site on WordPress for a client, you are making the decision for them for the tools that you're going to use to create the solution to their requirement, their problem, and so on. And part of that means that they're kind of paying for you to maintain software which isn't really down to them. So I want to look at how you can create maintenance plans that fall outside that, so you don't limit and restrict yourself to WordPress. So like I say, you could be using what's it called, Webflow. You could be using any kind of tools, Wix, Editor X, Shopify, any platform that you could create a website for a client on. I want to take a look at what options are available so you can create maintenance and care plans that actually add value and forget about the whole limitations and the whole ecosystem of what WordPress brings with it and the baggage it brings with it. So I'll be making that'll be totally free. There will be no cost to that whatsoever. It'll probably be an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and we might have a follow-up live session on that, maybe like a couple of weeks later, so I can find out if you've taken in the actionable tips that I want to cover in that video, if you've put those into place. If you have, how have you found them working out for you and those kinds of things. The other thing as well is that I'll probably I've been speaking to Kyle, and there'll probably be a nice exclusive discount on the website owner's manual if you don't already have that and you want to grab that for anybody that's part of this live webinar. There will possibly be limited spaces, I don't know yet, but more about this will be up on the Facebook group, the website, and everything else a little closer to the time when I want to release this. But we're going to let the new year get out of the way, let people get back into 2021. So I will probably be looking at around about the end of January, probably February, more than likely. Like I say, totally free, no obligation to it. It will be a sign-up kind of thing in advance, but everybody is open to becoming part of that. And like I say, it's all focusing on how you can create either an extra option inside your business, or you could create your own dedicated standalone sort of sideline business, sideline hustle, whatever you want to kind of do. Creating maintenance and care plans. There's going to be sort of more platform agnostic, so it doesn't care what platform you're going to use for your website building process. And you don't even have to build the website yourself. You could be taking on someone else's website after that developer's moved on, or the client isn't happy, whatever kind of reason. So if you're interested in that, keep an eye out, because I will be putting some more information together on that, giving you an outline of what it'll include. And like I say, totally and absolutely free. But it'll be a live webinar, much the same as this kind of thing, but it'll be behind its own dedicated sort of login, so you won't see it on YouTube. I hope that makes sense anyway. So if you're interested in that, let me know in the chat, because I'd love to know if that's something you want to see more of. Okay, so good evening, Spenny. It's good to see you here. Doesn't adding a multitude of third-party add-ons and plugins to Gutenberg to achieve what Elementor can do out of the box defeat the object? Absolutely it does. Well, potentially it does. I think it all depends on what kind of things you're doing. But I would be more looking at not adding tons and tons of add-ons to it, because I think if you've got Gutenberg and you've got probably a good block kind of platform, and a good one is, what's it called? Generate Blocks, and there's a Generate Blocks Pro coming out, which is very, very lightweight. I think you would probably be surprised at how much difference it makes. Like I say, I've got a couple of bits and pieces installed as part of that Bloxy test site that I've got at the moment, and with no optimization whatsoever, with some of these blocks included, it is getting just over 1.3 second load time with no optimization. So by the time you add a CDN and things like that to that, you should get sub 1 second. So for me, that indicates that even taking the theme and a couple of add-ons with Gutenberg, it's still coming in as a lighter weight option to working inside Elementor. But at the end of the day, I'm not telling anybody what they should and shouldn't do. If Elementor is the right choice, I say Elementor, but Elementor, Divi, Beaver Builder, whatever you choose, if that's the right option for the project, the job that you're working on, go with it, because it's an amazing platform, and I have no intention of not creating content and supporting that information moving forward. I just want to give you options to see that when you've got the right project, having the right tools is the best way moving forward, as opposed to just thinking, right, I'm used to Elementor and I'm used to WordPress, so all I'm going to do is build every single site using that setup. That might just not be the right option. So it's just all about having options and understanding what options are available, and then you can make the right choice at the right time for the client, project, whatever you're working on. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. So Spenny, I hope that kind of makes a little bit more sense and explains why I talk about, or why I've been talking about Gutenberg and some of the things you can do with it recently. What do we have? Oh, sorry, my mouth. Bloxy Pro, Cadence Pro, and Cadence Blocks Pro toolset, my instant move away from Elementor Pro. That is a pretty powerful stack there for definite. Like I say, toolset, again, is one of those ones that I need to find some time. I need 36-hour days, I think. I need to find some time to be able to get in and take a look at how that all works and just really get a better solid understanding. I understand the basics of it. I just really need to understand a little bit more about how it works with the whole templating system and how it works with Gutenberg and blocks and those kinds of things. So I'll have to see if my license is still active, and if it is, I'll have to take a little look at that at some point if I can. But totally awesome stack there, like I say. Finding the right tools, using the right tools, being comfortable with the right tools, that I think is the overarching message that I kind of want to get across with everything I talk about. I'm not telling you ever what you should be using. I'm just demonstrating some of the options and the tools and the combinations and what you can do with those different things. And that for me, that's where my passion lies, is finding ways of achieving things. And then looking, is there better ways to do it? Refining that initial process. Excuse me. As designers, as developers, as website freelancers, whatever heck you want to call ourselves, we have an obligation to ourselves and an obligation to our client to know enough to be able to provide them with the best solution and not restrict our knowledge and then shoehorn our clients into our knowledge base without looking at what other options there are available. That's the way I've always looked at it. And that's why I've kind of got this appetite for learning and seeing what other tools are out there and how we can combine them. This is how, the tutorials like on creating front-end dashboards, WooCommerce dashboards, taking those things like for business listings and sort of like real estate listings and things, building those kinds of sites, looking at the tools. If all we ever did was just go, okay, there's a theme that's got basically advanced custom fields built into it, and they've created a nice little back end to deal with, real estate or vehicles or something like that. And all you're going to do is just say, well, I've got a client that wants this, so I'm going to grab this solution and I'm going to use that as it is. That to me is very limiting, and that's kind of where I got frustrated with WordPress, was that before I got into using Elementor Pro and all the dynamic content there and creating, sort of setups, database setups using advanced custom fields, I always found WordPress was really, really limited, and you'd always have to rely upon a dozen plugins or a theme and a dozen plugins as part of the theme to do a job, and that always felt counterintuitive, coming from a background using Dreamweaver where I built a content management system that was modular. And if I had a client that come along and they wanted to have a car sales place or anything like real estate or whatever, I could literally just build the module into the dashboard of that, build it into the front end, and they'd have a site built for them that was unique to them, but using the core building blocks that I had. And this is the kind of approach that I've taken when I've moved over now to Elementor Pro, which has brought with it the ability to easily integrate advanced custom fields or pods or toolset or jet engine or whatever you want to use. So this is why I honestly think that you really need to get stuck in and learn these tools. Doesn't matter which ones you choose, because taking the advanced custom field side of things, once you understand how ACF works, you'll already be 50% of the way there to understanding how jet engine works, how pods works, how toolset works. You know the core fundamental principles behind it, and then you just have to learn the way that tool does the same type of thing. And yes, it's going to have different things around it that expand what you can do with it, and you might need a plugin for doing that with ACF, whereas Pods has it built in. But you're learning and understanding the technologies behind it, and then you can just find the tools that suit you best for the job. That's where I've always kind of come from. So I hope that kind of comes across in what I'm saying. I'm never telling you, use this, use that, use all these things. I'm just giving you options and information, and then you can do whatever you want with it. That's the whole point of it. That's the beauty of YouTube. That's the beauty of the Facebook group. We've all got different ways of approaching the same kind of thing. But when you're open to other people's point of views and other people's opinions with it and other people's ways of working, it just opens your eyes to what you can do, and it allows you to get so much more creative and do so many more things. And that's what I love about, this kind of channel, this kind of content. We can all learn from each other. It's awesome. Anyway, back into the comments and have a drink of beer. Okay, what else do we have? Why not make a super theme? Ooh, wouldn't that be nice, Chris? Els, good to see you in tonight. The Dashhounds let you off as you just bribed them all with pints of beer. If you have, awesome. I think the race for speed is bloated. Most sites download just fine for visitors. This is one of the kind of crazy things to sort of use that, to take that one step further. People were sort of saying, like quite a few people saying that the WPTuts site was really, really fast to load, which was kind of crazy because it was just built and still is just built on Ocean WP. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's on Cloudflare Cloudflare for the CDN, and I've got Auto Optimize on there. And other than that, that's it. There's nothing else really done to it. And it is, from what people are saying, it's a fast loading site. So, yeah, you're probably right. And the other thing you've got to kind of consider when it comes to building a site is lots of people will build a site in their own country, on their own server that's close to where they live or work or whatever. But you've got to look at where your audience is. I mean, my audience is predominantly in America. I mean, probably 65% of my audience is America and Canada, probably. So to get good results on that, it's just going to show that choosing a good hosting company with good servers does actually pay dividends. But like I say, there's so many things to a fast loading site, and people sort of fixate with a plugin like WP Rocket, which is a good plugin. But there's so much more to it when you come to fast loading sites. Yeah, it's a minefield. Anyway, Lillian, what do you think about Facet WP? Facet WP is a good piece of software. It's expensive for what it is, but it is good. Like I say, I've done a couple of videos that used it. I think I did the original real estate sites on it, one of the business listing sites on it. But it's expensive, and when you pair that with Search WP, which at the beginning was probably my choice of combinations to create site-wide search alongside having filters and things like that, that's a great combination, but that's going to set you back probably around $200, $250 for... I'm not sure there's a single site, multi-site, or unlimited sites. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that's a lot of money for a lot of people. And then you've got Search and Filter Pro, which probably has 90 to 90, let's just say 90% of what is included in those two plugins. I mean, Search WP is a pretty powerful search plugin for sure. But the difference between the two of them is Facet WP and Search WP versus Search and Filter Pro. Search and Filter Pro is just not very user-friendly. It's very geeky orientated. There's lots and lots of options, lots of which don't necessarily even apply to what you're doing, but everything's kind of lumped into one. But once you can kind of get past that and you're comfortable with it, Search and Filter Pro is a really good plugin. And at $20, I believe, for a site license is pretty cheap, if you only got one site. So Facet WP and Search WP, great combination. And if you need some of the extra plugins or modules, whatever they kind of call it, with Facet WP, then it opens up some more things you can do on there. And if you pair that up with a tool like Search WP, you've got a really, really powerful combination. But if you don't mind getting your hands dirty, then Search WP might be Search and Filter Pro might be a better option. Okay, let's have a little look. What else do we have? Cool. There's so many. I'm going to quickly flick through these because there's so many comments that have come up because I've been just talking way too much. So let's have a little look at what we have. So I can see a few of you are actually talking about like the different hosting companies you've chosen. And like I say, you do have to look at where your target audience is. If you look at that, that should give you a good indication of how you need to set up a CDN if you're using one, where you choose your main servers to be. If you are dealing with a big audience and you want to optimize the site for them, then you obviously want to have your servers to be located as close to them as possible. So a US audience, you'd want US based servers. But a good CDN can definitely streamline the whole process there. If you've never used a CDN, or you're looking for something that doesn't cost you an absolute arm and a leg, I would say take a look at Bunny CDN, because that can just be pennies per month, even for quite a busy site. And it's the one that I will definitely be using for WPTuts when I release the new version of that at some point. Anyway, what else do we have? Okay. Let's go to this vids vlogs. 2 beers and I can't speak. So I'm new to web development. Please tell me WordPress is good for earning in 2021. I think the easiest thing to look at here is forget about the platform that you're looking at. Earning is all about adding value. Your potential client doesn't care what you're using. So WordPress is as good as Webflow, is as good as Editor X, is as good as a multitude of different options. What you should be focusing on is providing a good solution to the problem that your potential client has for a decent amount of money, then I would not worry too much about what platform you use. But if you want to focus on one to start off with, to get at least having good solid knowledge of a platform before you start trying to sell that service, then WordPress is a perfectly good option for that. But so is Webflow. I mean, you can log into Webflow, you can have 2 sites, I think, currently in development, as it were, without having to pay a single penny, dollar, whatever. So at least that gives you the option then to be able to get your skills up, get your chops up with a tool like Webflow, and then you can start looking at selling that on to other people. And the benefits of using something like Webflow versus something like WordPress is you don't have to go through the hassle and the stress and the annoyance of dealing with updates and security and hosting and all those kinds of things, because everything is taken care of using a platform like Webflow. But if you don't mind doing the whole maintenance, the update, and dealing with all those things, then WordPress is a perfectly solid platform to work with, just as long as you go in with your eyes open, knowing that you are going to have to deal with updates, conflicts, security, hosting, all those kinds of things. But there's nothing wrong with WordPress as long as you go in with, like I say, with your eyes open. Okay, so hope that helps anyway. What do we have? Stratos. I have a friend who only uses ACF and everything else is custom. If you're comfortable doing that side of things, then go for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. ACF is a solid, powerful platform, and if you're happy custom coding, what you want WordPress to do, the themes, the template files, and all those kinds of things, then I think that's a really solid way of working, because you know exactly what's going on underneath, and if you're good at coding, then you can create nice clean code that doesn't have to worry about being bloated from using someone else's code. Because one of the problems you have when you sort of take on themes, or you take on tools like Elementor or Divi or anything that allows you to create like template files and things like that, is they're kind of trying to cater for lots of eventualities. And the problem with that is, to deal with that, you have lots of extraneous code. If you're coding knowing what the end result needs to be, you can be much more streamlined with your coding side of things. So I would say if you've got the chops to do that and you know it well enough, I think your friend is probably on the right track there, because potentially can charge more because everything with them will be completely custom. And if you're good and solid at coding, you know exactly what you're coding and you know the quality of the code that you're creating. So pretty cool, I would say. Even contact and SEO is made by him. Again, if they know what they're doing, if you know what you're doing, that's probably the best way of going about it if you want to use a platform like ACF and you're happy to do things like that. What do I think of Duda? If I'm even saying that right. To be honest, I've never actually used it, so I don't really have a knowledge of whether I think it's a good one or not, personally. So I couldn't say for definite. I couldn't say with any kind of knowledge at all. Again, it's one of those things that there's so many things that I want to look at. I just don't have the time to be able to invest in doing it. But again, one of those things that maybe I'll take a look at in the future if I can. Okay, let's have a little look. Michael, 65% of Paul's viewers in the US watch for live streams moving to 11 p.m. Yeah, to be honest with that one, the live stream times is something that's always been a little bit difficult for me, because 6 p.m. in the UK is fine. I could do it later if I wanted to. I tend to do it earlier just because with our little pooch, he gets a little bit rowdy towards the evenings, so it just makes it more difficult to create a live stream without having barking going on all the time. So that's the only real reason why 6 p.m. was the time that I kind of opted for. But you never know, like say, in the future that might change. I don't know if this is something that's difficult for everybody. Is 6 p.m. GMT a good time for everybody? I mean, do you find that this is early enough or late enough in the day that it makes it viable for you to catch up with it? Is a Thursday a good day? Again, let me know, because it's always useful to know what your thoughts and your opinions and your feedback are. At the moment, I don't gig on the weekends, so I don't have to worry about, cancelling live streams because I've got to go and play a gig on the weekend. But that hopefully will change, fingers crossed, next year, where maybe we can get back to some semblance of normality, and pubs and clubs and things like that will open back up, and live music will be something that starts again, because it's hard work not doing that. I tell you, that's something I definitely miss. Okay, let's have a little look. Public site, WPTuts, Happy New Year. Can't speak. Happy New Year 2021. And the same to you. I hope 2021 brings with it a lot more positivity than 2020 did. Okay. What do we have? David Walls. I've been listening and missing the comments too. I can't multitask as well as I used to. Join the club. I can't speak as well as I used to. And like I say, I've only had 2 beers. Does anyone know a good template site like Envato? I hit the creativity block sometimes. If you're looking for creativity and you don't just want to download a theme, I would say take a look at something like Dribble with 3 Bs. Because there's a lot of really good looking designs on there that can help spark your creativity. And the thing that I like about it is when you look at one of the designs, a lot of the time the color palette is listed in the description. And you can actually download that color palette. I think you'd need the Adobe Suite to make use of it, because I think it comes down in the file format, the Adobe Suites, or Photoshop at least, their color palettes are stored. I think it's like an ASR file. But that's a good way of doing it. I've sort of used that myself for creating tutorials where I'm looking for some inspiration for like a dashboard or a listing site or something, and I'm kind of like stuck. So I'll go onto somewhere like Dribble, do a search on there, and just maybe create a mood board of things that I like and use that as a source of inspiration. It could be that I like the font pairings, it could be that I like the white space, the general feel, maybe even just the color scheme. But Dribble is a really good source of inspiration and just open your eyes to some of the great looking designs that are out there. It's really quite a great resource. So I would say use something like that. I've used Envato, and again I do the same thing on there. I would use that as a sort of source of inspiration to see, okay, this is the kind of niche that I'm looking to create a site on. What looks good? What kind of resonates with me that I think, oh, actually I can take some inspiration from that. Could just be the layout, the scale of things, just the general feel of it. So take a look at Dribble if you haven't seen it already. Like I say, it's got 3 Bs. I think it's dribble.com. Have a look on there because that's a really good source of inspiration, definitely for websites. But also other things. I mean, there's logos on there. There's print media on there. There's tons of stuff. Web apps, phone apps, things like that. Really good for sparking and giving that creativity a kick up the butt when you're struggling. So Ted, hope that helps. Let's have a look. My Stigma. Could you look at reviewing existing care plans that viewers have in place and critique how they market it and what they're doing wrong or right? I'd be more than happy to take a look, at what people are providing as part of their care plans. I don't think I could sort of say what I think you're doing right or wrong, because I think you would probably know your market better than I would, and what would be right in maybe the UK. For like SMEs, small to medium businesses, could be completely different to the market sector that you're in. So what I would suggest is, if this is something you're interested in, hop over to the Facebook group if you're not part of it already, and outline what you're doing in your care plan. Say what you're doing, what you're charging for it if you're happy to put that information on there, and just get other people's opinions on it and see what kind of feedback you get. Because like I say, with the Facebook group, there's a lot of really knowledgeable people that are more than happy to give their opinions, give feedback, and help point you in the right direction, or just say that you're doing everything absolutely right. But I'm more than happy to take a look at doing that, and maybe that's something we'll do as part of the webinar I was talking about earlier on in this video, which, like I say, is absolutely free, or will be absolutely free. Excuse me. Maybe we'll have the sort of like the follow-up on that, where we'll have a Q&A session or something that you can sort of like show me what kind of things you're doing, and then we can sort of take a look at those, maybe critique them, chuck the ideas out there, and get some feedback on what everybody feels about that particular care or maintenance plan. So lots of options. Hopefully that will, make it available so you get some kind of support, some kind of feedback, some kind of help, and so on. Laura, I'm sensing some WordPress hostility. Right, got to stop pressing the 2 buttons at the same time. No, absolutely not. I've got no hostility towards WordPress. I think WordPress is a solid platform. I just don't necessarily think it's always the right platform. As I've said earlier on in the video, I'm hoping you were there. I think WordPress is solid. I just think you need to look at what your market requires. what your client requires if you're being more specific, and then looking for the right tool and not always shoehorning everything into WordPress, which can sort of happen if you look at a lot of comments that people will come back with in various different sort of Facebook groups and things like that. There does tend to be a very clan-like, what can you say, mentality to some groups where if you kind of voice anything that falls outside what that group is about, you can kind of get lynched a little bit. So I have no issues about WordPress whatsoever. I mean, I use WordPress every single day. I build sites on it, client sites on it, my own personal sites on it. But I just don't think it's always the right option, in the same way that I don't always think page builder is the right option. I've talked about it, I think, in a previous live stream. For example, WooCommerce. It's great if you've got, let's just say 20, 30 products. But then when you kind of go beyond that to run like a full online store, WooCommerce is probably one of the worst solutions out there for building an online store. Fine for small stores with, like I say, limited numbers of products, but get bigger than that. And there's so many better options out there, like Magento, like OpenCart. Even look at things like Shopify if you want to have a sort of fully self-hosted, a fully hosted solution. So no hostility. I just want people to sort of be open to the alternatives that are out there and then choose the right options to meet what's needed for a particular project, client, job, whatever. So that's all. No hostility. I think WordPress is an amazing platform. Well, without it, the channel wouldn't be where it is, and we wouldn't be doing these live streams. So I can't disrespect WordPress for what it does. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, Yanis. Let's have a little look. What have we got to say, young man? After dedicating 2020 to custom post types, I come to a conclusion that the most complete suite to build such a website is Crockablock. Do you agree with me, Paul? Yes and no. You know that I've got an affiliation with Crockablock anyway. I create content for them, and I've got a good working relationship with probably about 10 of the different people that are over there, the CEO and all those kinds of things. So a lovely bunch of people with a really great vision. But as with everything, like I've been talking about in probably most of what we've been talking about tonight, there's times where I think Jet Engine or the Crockablock suite is the right set of tools for a job, where you want to say, for example, you want to create a listing or you want to create a site that uses dynamic content. You want that search and filtering. You want styling, and you kind of want all those things to be in one ecosystem so you're comfortable with how they all work, and front-end forms and those kinds of things. Then a tool like Crockablock is awesome because everything is contained inside the same ecosystem. I've used the term ecosystem a lot tonight, but you know what I mean with that. But then there are times where, for me, I would prefer to use advanced custom fields and some of the tools that I'm used to there. So, for example, when it comes to creating a front-end form setup, I find using ACF, CPT UI, and ACF Front-End Forms Pro, or the free version, depending upon what I need, Shabdy's plugin, that for me, I can develop using that much quicker, probably because of what I know with it, but also because of the way that it all works. Shabdy's plugin is just really, really quick to set something like that up. So I think with everything we talked about tonight, I think the overarching message that I kind of have to put over there is I don't think there's ever the sort of one set of tool, one size fits all. I think you have to look at what it is you're trying to achieve and then choose the products that meet that requirement in the best possible way. So I don't have a number one go-to plugin suite or set of plugins or single plugin or theme or anything like that. In the same way that when people say, what's your favorite band? I don't have a favorite band. I just like lots and lots of different bands and singers and artists and things. I just think you have to be open to the possibilities and the options that are out there. But Crockablock is a very, very powerful suite and is a very compelling option when you look at all the tools you have as part of that subscription. And if you have the unlimited, so you can build as many sites as you want, you have a really solid platform to build from. But don't ever feel like you only have that platform to work with. There still are lots of other options out there that might be better for a given project. And that's the kind of way I approach everything. So I hope that helps. I hope that sort of answers your question, Yanis. Like I say, that's just my opinion. And as with everything, we've all got our own opinions, and go with what works the best for the project and for you. Carl, right. Tonight's live stream has to end by 7:30 GMT, otherwise my butt is going to be kicked. So 7:30 is the end of tonight's live stream. Okay. What else do we have? Okay. David, so mine start at 1 p.m. Okay. EST. Yeah, like I say, this is one of those difficult things. It's like I don't think there's ever going to be a situation where I'm going to keep everybody happy with the live stream audience. So I think for now, I will probably keep it to where it is at 6 p.m. GMT. But that might change in the future if we find there's a better, more optimal time for the majority of the audience. Anyway, I'm kind of playing catch up now because there's so many comments coming in. I would say pets usually they're the furry family member you can't really reason with, so you've got to work with what works for them too. Absolutely you do. If you've ever seen Bert, my little sort of dachshund, he's a very vocal little character, especially when it gets to probably about 8 o'clock onwards in the UK. That's the time where he comes alive and wants to play, wants to run around, wants to bark at everybody that's outside the house, all those kinds of things. So yeah, this is probably the reason why I've done it the time that I do. Okay, Digital Dandy Agency. That's a new name. I haven't seen you in here before, I don't think. So thank you very much for joining the live stream. If this is your first time, great to see you here. Envato Elements is a great for pre-built templates. Envato Elements is great for lots of things. I bought into Envato Elements probably about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. Not long after I started freelancing, because it just gave me the opportunity to have access to, at the time, probably thousands and thousands of stock images and graphics and icons and icon libraries and those kinds of things. And I was lucky enough then to change it over from the monthly deal to, I think I've reduced my monthly fee by about 50%. I think it's like a 50% discount, and I hopped on that. And I've been using it ever since. And it's just become one of those things that, while I don't use it for themes or for plugins, well, there's a couple of plugins I've tested off there, but generally I don't use it for those kind of WordPressy type things. It's an amazing resource for not a huge amount of money. And if you work with clients and you want access to those icon libraries and graphics and backgrounds, and if you do video work, you've got video, all the kind of video files for After Effects and, Motion and all the Apple kind of things, like Final Cut Pro and that. It's a no-brainer, because if you've ever looked at the amount of money it can cost for stock images, this is one of those things that can very quickly become a nice little revenue stream if you work with clients, because you can just tell them to look for what they want on there, and then you can say there's a charge of, let's just say, for example, $10 per image that you want to use. Well, you could sell 2 images and you're probably making most of your monthly subscription back. Or you can just use it to prototype designs, and if they want those, you can sort of sell them those things. And the same goes with icon libraries. You can factor all those things in. And it's just nice that all your licenses are dealt with this. There's no problems with those. You can manage all those things. You can see what you've downloaded. You can create groups of, if you're working on a particular project, you can create a kind of sort of group, and then you can just sort of save those and favorite those kind of things into those groups for the project. It just means then recalling things afterwards. It's just super easy. So I'm a big fan of Envato Elements for sure. Pairs reloaded, time for shots. It's going to be messy. That's all I'm going to say. Mauro, good to see you, and Happy New Year to you as well. Let's have a look. What do you say? Best wishes for you. Thanks for everything you've done for all of us. You are the best content creator for Elementor, Crockablock, and many more. Big, huge love. Love you. So, thank you very much for that, and I will take that as being an awesome way to start my evening. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you found it useful. And long may it continue. Hopefully 2021, with some of the things that I've got planned, will be even more useful. So, thank you very much. Yeah, exactly, Laura. Awards with lots and lots of W's is another great inspiration tool. Bookmark these sites. Like I say, Dribble, Envato Elements, awards site. There's quite a few different sites out there like this. A lot of the older ones have kind of gone or transitioned to something different. But I would say bookmark these, and then when you kind of get that brain fog, you get that sort of, I just don't know what to do for this particular project, this client, whatever. It's a market that you're not used to. You've got some amazing inspiration that you can just go and spend a couple of hours having a look around, clicking on the sites, having a look at the things that you like about them, making some notes, save them to a sort of like an online sort of mood board, scrapbook, whatever you want to kind of call it, and use those kinds of things to inspire you. Keep those things that you think, well, actually, I really like the way this looks, but not for this project. And then you think, well, actually, I'm going to go back to some of these inspirational sites and designs and things that you like and go back and see what's there. The other thing that these are really, really useful for is to see what kind of things are trending at the moment. Excuse me. So as we know, I mean, 2020 and probably 2019 has definitely been the year of the simplified illustration website. You know, the blobs with the illustration of the stylized people. That's definitely been the feel for the last year or two. I mean, that's going to go. You know, give it another year, 18 months, and that'll be like, you know, gradients and animated GIFs. But this is a good way of seeing what trends are starting to come out. So then at least you can be a little bit ahead of the curve, maybe inside your market sector, or you can see kind of where the trend is going and learn to identify where these trends are. And then at least you can kind of be modern and current with what you're creating. So have all these things in your back pocket. Create a little, you know, a list. Bookmark these sites. Create these mood boards of things that you like, these designs you like, these font combinations you like, these color combinations you like, these layouts that you like. And you've always got them to go back to for inspiration when you're just really struggling. That's what I've done. I've done that for years. And it's just a great way of being able to quickly go back and look at those. And if you want a really good tool to sort of do things like this, take a look at Notion. Now, Notion, you can have a paid plan, but you don't really need it because they got rid of the limitation that you had, which was something like 10,000 records or something like that it was. So now Notion gives you a huge amount of access. And if you're using, you know, an Android phone or tablet, iPhone or, you know, iPad tablet kind of thing, or just your computer, you can easily just send anything you find, any links you find, any images you find, things straight into Notion and create a mood board inside Notion and organize things from there. So you could very easily have a huge array of mood boards and ideas and inspirations using these kinds of tools, all for absolutely no cost whatsoever. So take a look at doing something like that. I say Notion. I think it's notion.so, I think it is, something like that. Do a search for Notion anyway. And just take a little look. Tons of ways in which you can get that inspiration. Some really, really useful sites. So thank you very much, Laura, for saying about awards. I'd forgotten all about that one. I like that quote. Jamie, WordPress is the dreamweaver of 2021. It is great, but in 10 years, I'm not sure everyone will be using it. Look, the internet is a very, very fast moving thing. And while WordPress currently has a massive share, and I think this is part of what is really motivating, you know, the Automatic, the company behind WordPress, to push forward with Gutenberg and all the kinds of things that they're doing with that, is because they're trying to keep current with the likes of Wix and Squarespace and those kinds of things. Creating something that's simpler to use for the layman that doesn't really want to get stuck in and understand how WordPress fundamentally works. And this kind of goes back to the conversation we had in last week's live stream, which was, do we think that themes are dead? And I would say the same kind of thing applies there. I think the way that WordPress is kind of going is that they want probably 80% of their market, which is going to be the DIY, the kind of people that just want to get a website up online quickly and make it look good. That's where WordPress with the simplified Gutenberg and a good theme, I don't think those are going to go anywhere very quickly. But you could be right, Jamie. We could be seeing it in 2031, if I'm still doing these kinds of things. We'll be looking back at WordPress and thinking, oh, do you remember those days where we used to have to use page builders? How old hat does that seem right now? So we will have to see in 10 years, hopefully. Okay, let's have a little look what else we've got here. Jay Bram, if you're making all you're making is a landing page, all you need is a notepad. WordPress for landing page is like using a sledgehammer for a nail to hang a paint in. Probably, but I think, unfortunately, so many people now have been spoilt with the likes of page builders that we're just used to that ease. You know, it's like if someone said, you know, like for example, checks. Not that anybody really uses those anymore unless you're in business. But the hassle of having to receive a check and then go to the bank and actually pay that check in, that just seems archaic these days. First of all, using checks. But if you get a check, someone sends you a check, just the fact you can now just use that on your phone app for your banking and you can scan it in and that money's in your bank quicker than it would be if you took the check to the bank. I think that's probably the way things are going. You know, we are just... Fundamentally, people just want ease. We're kind of lazy, and we're becoming more and more lazy because technology makes it easier for us to be lazy. So well, you could definitely do it with Notepad and some HTML knowledge. I just think most people will always fall back to the path of least resistance, and that would ultimately be tools like Elementor or an online page builder like Swipe Pages, which we've looked at in the past. Okay. Do you have anyone to recommend watching on YouTube about SEO for newbies? No. Well, I mean, you've always got Backlinko is a good site to take a look at, and you've got, I can't think of his name, Neil Patel is good for SEO side of things. But SEO is a lot less about off-site SEO and more about on-site SEO. In other words, content is the primary, most important thing. So if you're writing content for search engines, excuse me, you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot. So I would say you're probably better off spending the time learning how to write good copy, taking tools like, I mean, to give you a couple of good tools that I've used lately that I've purchased through like AppSumo and stuff. Phrase is good if you want to optimize your content for both humans and for SEO. And also Bloxy, which I talked about probably about 6 weeks ago now in a live stream, which is still on AppSumo at the moment. And even though its name suggests it's just about writing blog content, you can create any content you want. But what it does do is it gives you a really nice way of being able to create segmented content, check it out for SEO, and adjust it and make sure that everything is optimized for SEO, but still being geared fundamentally and sort of from the top for humans. You know, at the end of the day, there's no point in creating content that gets someone to your website and then they read it. It makes no bloody sense because you've just written it for the search engines. That's ultimately going to mean that you have a bounce rate that's going to be like 95% plus kind of thing. So always write your content for humans, put the right kind of keywords and phrases that you want to rank for in there, and then just create a fast site, create an easy to find information site, cross-link the information you've got. So if you've got content on there that has information that's somewhere else on the site, link through to that, create pillar content, which is basically just content that references multiple other pages or posts on your site. So like a kind of like listicle. So let's just say, for example, excuse me, that if we take WPTuts as an example, I could create an article all about how to start working with advanced custom fields. And that will become pillar content. And as I'm going through it, I'm going to give you a step-by-step process on the best ways of going about learning these tools. And then I'm going to reference the different videos that are part of my site. That's going to be probably more valuable than a lot of other things. And when you create good content that people want to read, you will generally naturally get backlinks to you because the content is interesting, useful, and informative. But if you want a little bit more about this, then I would say take a look, like I said, Backlinko, and also Neil Patel, who's the guy behind Ubersuggest, who's sort of pretty rated as a good SEO individual. Whether he's the best, I'm not an SEO kind of guru in any way. But those are the ones I would suggest taking a little look at to start off with, at least. Okay, so we've got quite a few new faces in here, so that's very nice to see. Keshap, I hope I said that right. Just want to say thanks for everything, brother. Not a problem at all. I'm super glad that you are finding the content that we put out there useful, and if you're new to the live streams, I hope this is something you'll kind of hop onto on a regular basis, because when we start back in earnest in 2021, we're going to be doing them the same as before, so it's going to be every other week. And what I'm probably going to do is put together a list of different topics that we're going to cover over the next 10 weeks. I want to do them in sort of 10-week blocks to give me the ability to have a little bit of a break in between. But we do tend to sort of do last-minute lives as well, which is kind of what tonight's is. Okay. Derek Bailey. Absolutely agree. WordPress doesn't suit every project. I've been using Webflow now for my more basic projects. Thank you. Derek, I think, like I say, this is just kind of the overarching message that I'm kind of trying to get across, is that I don't think any platform is inherently bad or any combination of tools is wrong. It's just knowing what you're looking to achieve and then picking the right tools to do it. And like I say, that isn't always WordPress. So I'm glad you agree. I'm glad you're finding tools like Webflow are going to be useful for you to create different kinds of sites, and knowing when Webflow is the right tool and when WordPress is the right tool. That's the kind of key that I'm talking about. Rose, Shopify doesn't support if you have over 500 or more products. I'm not a Shopify user. I have no idea what the limitations are with it. But again, I think this is the thing. It's like, once you know these limitations, once you know what you're trying to achieve, you can at least go in with a better idea. So you could say, well, if I want to sell up to 50 products, then WordPress could be a good choice. If there is a limitation like that with Shopify, of 500 products, that would probably meet the requirements for most sort of medium businesses. And then when you need more than that, then maybe something like Magento or OpenCart or any of those kinds of tools would be the better option moving forward. But this is kind of where the whole point of meeting with a client, finding out what they need now, what they're expecting to do in the next, I don't say 2 to 3 years, the lifespan of the project, and then coming up with the right solution to ensure that you meet those requirements for the client. This is kind of say that this is the most important thing. I think this is just what is worth being aware of from the get-go. Okay, this is a good question, Video Boy. How do you handle delusional clients that think they own you when they hired you? Be honest with them. Don't take, what I say, as long as you've got the project scope is outlined in detail, and that's what they've signed up to. So you've got that signature on your project agreement that says, these are all the things that I'm going to supply to you, and don't be ambiguous. If you can be as specific as possible, be specific. But then the contract that I've used, and this is something that I moved over, and we talked about this in previous live streams. My original contracts were trying to lock people down into what I don't do. And that was just hard work. That ended up being like 10 or 12 pages long of just legal gibberish. And I changed things over to having a contract that says, these are all the things that you're paying me for. This is what you're getting for this amount of money. These are the deliverables, all those kinds of things. But if you want more, then that's no problem at all. If it's within the scopes of what I can do and what we can achieve with the tools that we're using, based upon this original contract, then that's no problem. I will do those things for you. But just be aware that I will be quoting you separately. And if you agree to that quote separately, there will be a separate agreement for those additional things. When you do that, you give the client the freedom to feel like they own you, as it were. But they'll know from the get-go, this is what they're getting for their initial amount of money. If they want other things, they can have them within reason, but they will keep on paying. So if you've got a client that says, okay, this project is $5,000, and then they come back to you when you start the project and you go, oh, actually, Paul, we also want to put this in there, and I've seen this on another site, and I think this is really cool. I'd love to have that on the site. And as long as, like I say, technically you can do those things, then turn on the client and say, yeah, no problem at all, Dave. I can do that. Let me go away, have a little look at the best way of implementing this into the project as it stands at the moment, where we are in the project. And I will come back to you then with a price, an outline of what's going to be included. If you're happy with that, then we can tag that onto the original project, and there'll be a separate agreement for it. And if they want to keep on doing that, let them keep on doing it, because you've set the expectations from the get-go that if they want more, they can have more, but they will pay more. That means that you don't ever get to the point of thinking, head in hands kind of thinking, I can't cope with this, they've been an absolute nightmare. You just know that, okay, this is a bit of a pain, but now this project that anticipated being 8 weeks is now going to be 12 weeks, but I'm going to make another $2,000 on top of it. So your quid's in. And believe me, that definitely alleviates that annoyance and that frustration and all those kinds of things that go with clients that want more and more and more. Because they can have whatever they want, within reason, but they pay for it. And like I say, that eases how you feel about clients as you move forward and they want more and their expectations grow as they maybe become a little bit more confident in what you're creating and have maybe a bit more of an understanding about what they want their site to actually achieve. Hope that helps anyway. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left and we're going to call it a day, like I say, at 7:30 tonight. And then we can all go off and have a good drink party and spend some time with whoever we're going to be spending time with tonight. Okay. Is there a preferred set of third-party add-on widgets that anyone prefers to use? Spenny. To be honest, I don't have a huge amount of third-party add-ons that I would generally tend to use. ACF is one, CPT UI, custom post type UI, Jet Engine or the Crocoblock suite if the project requires what that needs. ACF Front-End Form Pro and also the Front-End Forms Pro, which is the non-ACF version. Other than that, I've got things like iTheme Security, either SEO Press or Rank Math, and a couple of other little sort of tools that I use for like dealing with SSLs and those kinds of things, and backups like WP Vivid Backup Pro, those kinds of things. But other than that, I don't have a huge amount of third-party plugins that I rely on. Again, it just kind of comes down to what the project requires. And a lot of time, there's a core set of things that I put in for security, for SSL, for SEO, those kinds of things. And then after that, I'll tend to look at what tools are the right tools for the job that I'm kind of working on at that time. Okay. Michael, Happy New Year to you as well. I hope you're doing well and you're safe wherever you are. Okay. Laura, I was just expected to chill with the WPTuts gang in this live stream, but I have to confess you guys have given me a new perspective on having more tools in my toolbox, such as Webflow. That's great. Thank you very much, Laura. I'm glad that is helping. Definitely have my horse blinders on, focusing on WordPress. I think this is the problem. When we become so accustomed to and so used to working with a specific set of tools, we don't look outside them because that's our comfort zone. We're just like, oh, I can build it with WordPress. And there's a lot of times where that just really isn't the right options. We do have to look at what the client needs, what the client wants, and those kinds of things. So, I'm glad that spending the evening here tonight, even for like a short period of time, has just given you some inspiration to maybe look at some of these other options. And that's going to ultimately, hopefully, make you a more viable option when you come to working with clients. And like I say, it doesn't have to be with clients. You can be working on your own projects. But WordPress itself, by its very nature, is something that requires a lot of care and attention and maintenance. It's like that needy child. It's like that pet that just wants your attention all the time. If you're doing it for one site, it's like, it's okay. But imagine if you had 100 sites that all require your attention. That becomes a full-time job in itself, and that can be really, really frustrating, time-consuming, worrying, all those kinds of things. And this is where if a project would be better off inside a tool like Webflow or Shopify, where security and updates and all those things are handled as part of the platform, surely it would make more sense to use a platform like that than try to use it inside WordPress. Your client's going to be happier, and we all have this sort of feel, well, oh, my client could do it inside Webflow or they could do it inside Shopify. Of course they could. But most clients don't want to. And this is the thing. It's not that you've got, or most of us have an amazing skill set that's, beyond what someone else could learn. We all had to learn these things. But most people that are paying you for your service are not paying you for the tools you use. They're paying for the knowledge that you have and the fact that they just don't want to go to the time and effort and potential expense of learning all these things. They just want someone that does the job that they want. You know, we could change tires ourselves. We could change brakes and things ourselves on a car. But most of us don't want to jack a car up on the drive or on the side of the road, get underneath the car and start fiddling about with these different things. We just want to take it to someone that'll do it for us, and we have it back and it's done. And the same goes for, you know, web design. People just want to have the job done. So, you know, look for the right tools that do the job the best that you can, and then work with those. Okay, so that's the Jamestown done. Anyway, now we're on to India Pale Ale, if I can get that to focus. Let me just get them in front of my face. There we go. So this is the next drink. So no Brewdog tonight, you'll see. Although these are getting quite warm now. So, okay, so we have about 10 minutes left, and I've got an exploding can. Okay. Okay. Yanis. I'm picking on Yanis a lot tonight for questions, so... Well. Do you believe it's going to be the best positive surprise for the WP ecosystem and the Elementor community? I'm not too sure what we're talking about now, so if you could elaborate upon that point for me, please, Yanis, and I'll come back and I'll answer that question a little later. Steve, always fancied making a site purely in black, white and grayscale only. Is it just me? No, not at all. I think blogs are one of those things that can work really, really well with a very monotone palette like that. And I would always say, if you've got an idea about doing something, do it. Because at the end of the day, it's a great way of learning. It's a great way of seeing, does this work? Because one of the things that I found that's been really, really useful, and if you work with clients, this is more than anything. If you learn something, whether it's a design skill, whether it's a technical skill or something like that, you'll always have clients that will really appreciate you contacting them saying, look, I've learned this new thing, or I've got this new set of tools that I think would be perfect for you. And then explain to them what it is. You know, some clients will go, oh, that sounds great, and you'll never hear anything more about it. But some other clients will be open to that because they'll know that you're not there just trying to sell them something. You are there because you've seen something you think would fit for them and would be a great addition to their business, their site, whatever it is. So I would say, Steve, if you've seen that and you just fancy creating something like that, get stuck in. Just do it. Learn new skills whenever you've got the opportunity, and just, it gives you just a bigger palette to work from when it comes to working with a client, working with the paid clients. So, and as I can see in the comments, you're not the only one that's fancied doing something like that. So get stuck in and try it. Give it a go. See what the heck happens. How many shades of grey? At least 50, Dale, obviously. We're just going to put... Because I don't have any more sound effects that would work with that. Okay. Let's have a little look. What else do we have? We've got a couple more minutes now, and we're just going to have a little chat about stuff. Oh, there's so many comments in you. Yeah, Steve, just give it a go. Give it a try. Like I said, there's obviously a few people inside here tonight that are saying, you know, give it a try, see what you think, and get stuck in. But share the results with us. If you do create something like this, even if it's just one page, share the results on the Facebook group, which we'll put that on there. So share them with the Facebook group. And if you're not members of the Facebook group, get involved in the Facebook group. Spenny, thank you very much for spending some time with us this evening, and have a happy new year, and I'm sure we'll see you over in the Facebook group and hopefully in future live streams as well. So take care and have a fantastic new year. Steve, just opened a beer. You and me both. Okay, so we've got a couple more minutes and then we're going to call it a day. Okay, that's a question from Carl, so I'm going to ignore that one. Paul, you should build a tool that helps people select what they're looking for and estimated costs at the end, or maybe I will. Jamie, you do that, you build that, and I'll take a look at it. I just don't have the time. Although I got to be honest, we did sort of, my better half is a pretty dab hand when it comes to dealing with spreadsheets and things. So as part of the course that I've got coming out in the beginning of the year, or at least the first couple of modules of that, I wanted to create something that you could easily have, that you could sort of just type in quickly what you wanted, or choose from a couple of lists and get a rough estimate. Because part of what you tend to find is you'll get someone that'll call you up on the phone, say they're looking for a website, and part of that is they go, can you give me a rough idea of the kind of money you're talking about for this? Having something you could literally be talking to them and have a computer in front of you, and you could be just quickly adding these different bits and pieces in to get a rough estimate total would be something useful. So if you think that would be useful as part of my sort of client lifecycle course, let me know in the chat, in the comments, if you're watching the replay on this, because it is something we take a look at doing and started sort of getting a rough prototype together on it. But I do think it would be quite useful that you could literally just be on the phone and just selecting the options they want from a list. And you could add your own options in on a separate sheet and it will all tie in and do all those kinds of things. But let me know, like I say, in the chat, in the comments, down below. And if you think that would be useful, I'll make that available as part of the course when it actually starts to be released. Okay. Let's have a little look at what the last couple on you are. Okay. Is there a tool you could recommend, Paul, for finding the cookie code snippets on a WordPress page for GDPR? Ooh, did you see my video that I released a couple of days ago on Ayubenda? And also another one that I'm taking a look at, which I have to get back to the people behind it, is Termageddon, which I know Kyle Van Dusen from the admin bar is a big fan of. Definitely take a look at Ayubenda, because there's an option on there that allows you to go through and take a look at what is running on your site and what you would need to include in things like your privacy policy and your cookie policy and so on. So have a look at that, Volker, if you haven't already. That might be something that is worth investing in, even if it's just for one stack, should we say, on AppSumo. There's a lifetime deal on there at the moment. So have a little look. That might be something that could be useful for you to find out what sort of systems are being used on any given site and speed up that process. Okay. Yeah, come on, Steve, you tell him. 140 watching, 32 people hit the like button. Come on, hit the like button. Make me feel better. Oh, we got 39 now, so that's even better. Steve, you're an absolute star. Some more beer tokens. I like beer tokens. Beer tokens are amazing. Now, if you are new to the live stream, you will find out that beer is featured quite heavily in every single live stream. So if you're new here and you're new to the live streams, you have to get beers in. That's the only thing you have to do. Get beers in. Mr. Sandy Pants, hello from San Diego. Hello, San Diego. Hope you're doing well. How many hours per week do you work? These videos and research seem to be a full-time job. I don't know how you do it. How many hours do I work per week? There's a good question. If it's on YouTube alone, probably around about, I don't know, 25, 30 hours a week. Sometimes longer, depending upon if it's a sort of sponsored content, so I've got to learn and understand how a particular project or product works. If it's a larger project, like the business listings, the real estate listings, and those kinds of things, they'll take me longer. But to give you an idea, when I started the YouTube channel, I was doing at least 40 hours a week working inside my business, because this is before I was freelancing. So I was a partner in a design business, which is basically what my business is now minus my business partner side of things, or my then business partner side of things. So I was doing 40 hours a week at least on that, and then I was coming home and working at least 40 hours, probably more, on the YouTube stuff after that. Thankfully, I'm in an enviable position now where that isn't such an issue, and I kind of don't really take new clients on that often. So my client side of things has been a little quieter, which allows me to focus more time on the WordPress side of things and the YouTube side of things. I'm kind of lucky that I don't really. I think everybody has their niche in life. Everybody has something that they don't struggle with. They find fairly easy to understand, and I'm quite lucky in the fact that a lot of the things that I do, that I put content out on the channel, I don't really find it that difficult to kind of get my head into quite quickly, which means that I can put content out quite quickly on it. I sound like I'm bragging a little bit, but please don't take it that I am in the slightest. It's more a case that I don't know if it's because I've been doing web design for so long and I've been using so many different kinds of technologies that I've just kind of become accustomed to it, but I've kind of got used to how lots of different tools work, and it just means that it's quite quick to learn, take something, test it, install it, understand enough about it to be able to put even some basic content out, and then I kind of gauge if there's enough interest there in that initial content, then I'll go back and I'll generally tend to create more deep dives into that content. I mean, a good example of this would be like the ACF Front-End Forms Pro, or the free version at the time. Once I kind of tested that out and I thought, actually, there's people are interested in this kind of topic, then I kind of went back and dug into it in a lot more detail, spent a couple of days working on it, getting an understanding, and then created some more deep dive content. And obviously that takes longer to do those kinds of things. But generally, probably around about, 35, 40 hours a week as an average. And probably on top of that, then I'll do sort of client work and so on. Anyway, I hope that kind of helps. Although I'm really quite happy now because I've got my first thumbs down on a live stream and they didn't click it twice. So I'm a little disappointed in that, but hey yo. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up there because this is now 7:30. But before we do, I want to quickly say thank you very much for the super chat, Carl. You didn't need to do that at all. But Carl turns, well, it's his birthday, he turns 35 in 5 hours' time. So if everybody could take a couple of minutes just to wish Carl happy birthday, happy 35th birthday, you old bugger, that would be absolutely amazing. Okay. Carl, old man, super chat. Colleen, thank you very much. I'm glad that whatever I put out there has actually helped you this year. That's absolutely fantastic to hear. The whole point of the channel, the whole point of the Facebook group, the whole point of everything we do is to help you move forward and either create better websites for yourself or better websites for your clients, or give you the confidence, the skills, and the knowledge to be able to set up your own business, whether that's a sideline hustle or a business, a freelance business. That's the aim. And 2021, I will be doing a lot more of that. We'll be taking a look at more business-oriented things. We'll have webinars. The course will be coming out. There'll be so many cool new things. As I said at the beginning of this live stream, if you've come in now and you haven't seen the beginning of it, check out the links in the description of this video after you've finished. There are quite a few exclusive deals inside there. Things that are going to run for the next couple of days, things that run out today, so you can grab yourself deals from 15% right the way up. Exclusive deals and so on. So take a look at those links in there. If you want to grab anything, now's the good time to do it because you'll save yourself a chunk of cash. Okay, so Colleen, thank you very much for that super chat. Laura, thank you again for that super chat. You've been an absolute star and great to see you here tonight. Although no bacon tonight, so I'm a little disappointed. I'm still waiting for those biscuits. So all I'm going to say, that's all I'm going to say. I know you're coming from Canada, but they should be here by now. Anyway, happy birthday, Carl. You're an absolute star. Thank you very much for getting involved. As always, you and a great help on these live streams. I will probably be back 2 weeks for the next live stream. I want to have a little bit of a break from the live streams if you don't mind. Charlie Bird, happy birthday, happy new year. Your help this year has been invaluable. Look forward to your New Year's course. I look forward to just doing more of these things in the new year. Again, thank you very much for the super chat. You've been an absolute star. Dimitri, so glad to be able to join. Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to you too as well. Athena, you'd like to learn more about conditional logic? Then keep an eye on the channel because there'll be more things to do with conditional logic and various different things. So I just want to sort of say thank you very much for all of the time you've taken tonight to get involved in the live stream. Wherever you are in the world, whatever time it is, please do stay safe, look after yourselves, enjoy the new year if it's still on its way, and if it's already is 2021 for you, then make 2021 an amazing year for yourselves. I will see you all in 2021. Thank you very, very, very much for being involved, and thank you, Jamie, for your super chat as well. You're an absolute star. And I can't keep up with these comments as they're coming in, but it's 7:30. I'm going to go spend some time with my better half and my little Poochie. Please do take care in 2021. Love you all, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care.